Have you ever been that one smart kid that just loved to show off your slightly impressive mind skills? You know, being the first to finish a test, correcting the other kids, heck, even correcting the teachers once in a while. You might have used such brain power to build rockets, battle evil, or save your entire town's population of parents. Huh? You haven't done any of those before? No? Huh. Well, I guess we're talking about a different kind of genius mind here. One whose wacky inventions have entertained us for years as kids. We may already have animated genius kids before like Dexter or Phineas and Ferb, but there's only one, Jimmy Neutron. In the town of Retroville, Jimmy's always inventing gadgets to make his life in Retroville more interesting. A boy genius with real kid emotions, Jimmy sometimes fantasizes about life on his own. But when the parents of Retroville are kidnapped by invading aliens, he quickly discovers that things aren't so great when they're gone, and sets off with all the other kids of the town to save their parents. The idea for a series about a boy with super genius powers was first conceived in the 1980s by John A. Davis, who scripted and storyboarded a short narrative titled Runaway Rocket Boy, centered around a character named Johnny Quasar, inspired by a nickname that his summer co-workers had given him in his youth, who builds a rocket ship and runs away from his parents. Davis stated in an episode of the Nickelodeon animation podcast that he initially wrote the concept with the intention of creating it as a live-action film with special effects and map shots, even going so far as to apply to receive a grant in order to fund the project, but found that getting such an investment was difficult since the film wasn't educational or informative. The idea lay dormant for several years until Davis came across the abandoned script while in the process of moving. Around the same time, Davis's Dallas-based studio, DNA Productions, had just began experimenting with the use of computer animation after obtaining copies of Lightwave 3D. In turn, Davis realized that the film would be fitting as a CG film, since all the science fiction set pieces could be entirely modeled in 3D. Davis, alongside studio co-founder Keith Alcorn, created a 40-second proof-of-concept demo film which depicted Johnny and his robot dog Goddard flying through an asteroid belt and greeting his viewers. The demo short was shown off in 1995 at the SIGGRAPH CG convention, where it was entered into a competition for lightweight films. The demo quickly garnered notability in the computer animation industry. Among people who caught wind of the film was Steve Odekirk, the founder of O Entertainment, who saw a still shot of Johnny and Goddard in a CGI magazine. Odekirk, a strong backer of computer animation, was inspired by the character designs. After teaming up with O Entertainment, the company pitched the idea in the fall of 1995 to Nickelodeon, whom immediately expressed interest in it, with then president of Nick, Albie Hecht, describing Johnny as half Bart Simpson, half Albert Einstein. Following the positive reception, a 13-minute pilot episode was commissioned by Nick and production began in late 1997 and finishing in 98. The name Johnny Quasar had to be changed to prevent confusion with similar names for other fictional characters like Johnny Quest and Captain Quasar, and Davis eventually settled with Jimmy Neutron. Although executives were blown away by the final product, the idea of making a theatrical film to accompany the series started floating around. Though surprised by this proposition, Davis suggested the film be released first, to which Nick eventually agreed, as the characters being modeled could be created at a higher quality than they would have with a TV budget. With a budget of roughly $30 million, Jimmy Neutron officially started production in February of 2000 under the direction of Davis. The film was largely inspired by Davis's own love of science fiction, which he had since childhood, drawing influence from various sources including the Thunderbirds and Ray Harryhausen's stop-motion work. One of Jimmy's friends, the Ultralord-obsessed Sheen Estevez, was inspired by Davis's own love of collecting. The character was also originally supposed to be Japanese, but the crew couldn't find the right Japanese actor that would do the job, and ended up shifting his nationality to Mexican, and settling with comedian Jeff Garcia, doing Sheen's voice.
Dweeb case who'd have any Ultralord anything?
No, you look more like a regular kind of pathetic, self-deluded dweeb case.
Jimmy Neutron was not only Nick's first 100% CG film, but also the first computer animated film to be created entirely using commercial animation programs rather than proprietary software, with most animation done using both Lightwave and Project Messiah, a 3D animation and rendering application. Meaning characters were first modeled in Lightwave, after which they were rigged and animated in Messiah. In order to speed up the pace of work for a feature film, the company's staff count was considerably increased from 30 to around 150 employees, and the studio's workspace was also reformed in order to fit such a team of filmmakers. Because of this, the film was completed in just 24 months, roughly half that in which most CG films were completed. To animate crowd scenes, methods of simplification were used to make animation less time-consuming. Characters that were farther from the camera had less articulation, and animators would duplicate the same characters, offset them to different areas, and change their body parts to differentiate them. One particular scene shows a crowd of 6,000 Yolkians, each of which uses one of 30 distinct animation loops. To promote the movie, a series of shorts were created about Jimmy's daily life that aired months in advance on Nickelodeon. Goddard's Play Dead routine in the film is even inspired from one short where Jimmy and Cindy are competing over whose pet is better. When Jimmy and Goddard blasted off into theaters on December 21st, 2001, his calculations turned out to be quite acceptable. Critics gave it positive reviews, saying that although the animation wasn't as revolutionary as other recent CG films of that year, it still had enough witty humor and charming characters for everyone to enjoy. As for the box office, it also went pretty well with more than $80 million domestically and more than $103 million worldwide. Later on, the film was nominated for the very first Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, alongside Pixar's Monsters, Inc. and DreamWorks' Shrek, whom the latter won the award. However, it is the first and so far only film based on a Nickelodeon cartoon to be nominated at the Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature. Due to its great success, the series was eventually created, titled The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, from July 2002 to November 2006, that lasted for 3 seasons and 122 episodes, and winning an Annie Award for Outstanding Achievement in an Animated Production Produced for Children, among other smaller awards. 4 years later, a spin-off from the series, Planet Sheen, premiered in 2010 and ended in early 2013. There was also a simulator ride based on the film in Universal Studios Florida called Jimmy Neutron's Nicktoon Blast that lasted from 2003 to 2011. Back in February of 2002, a sequel was reportedly in development for a summer 2004 release under the title Jimmy Neutron 2: The Search for Carl. However, it was ultimately canceled due to the writers not agreeing on a story. Over the years, the entire franchise has become a fan favorite, with people enjoying the memorable characters, Jimmy's odd creations, and especially with Carl Weezer becoming a mean king himself.
Any questions?
Yes. Are you going to finish that croissant?
Knock yourself out.
But once that big brain emerged on screen, the whole world knew, right then and there, who we could count on.